Shall we begin? I think it's time to get the plenary block of the 5th user exchange of Destination Earth underway. A very warm welcome to you all, and of course the several hundred colleagues who are following proceedings online, for what should be a fascinating afternoon of discussion and debate about the evolution of Destination Earth and its contribution to the European agenda for climate preparedness. So my name is Simon Pickard. I'm the Network Director at Science Business, the media company specialized in R&I policy based here in Brussels. And it's a pleasure to be moderating this afternoon's events. I have to say it's barely credible that it is still less than 2 years since we were in Kajani for the official launch event of Destination Earth going live. And so much has changed since. Sadly, part of that including the political and geopolitical narratives around the climate crisis and the ways to tackle it. But of course, as has been highlighted by the 2025 State of the Climate Report here in Europe, we are under some extreme pressure, right? We are suffering the impacts and the consequences of climate change at greater intensity than any other part of the planet. So by extension, that means that all of those responsible for leading our response to the impacts of climate change, be they in policy, in industry, in society, they need access to the best possible tools and information and evidence that they can get their hands on to make the right choices about where to act next. So, in that context, today's event is really serving two purposes. The first is, if we like, take a state of the art and to acknowledge all of the developments that have taken place around the Destination Earth ecosystem since you were last together in Vienna last year. But second, and perhaps more importantly, it's to look forward and to explore the way that Destination Earth and its various capabilities, its data and its services can play an integral role in supporting policymakers and decision makers in Europe in their fight against the climate situation. So that is what we are going to be doing. I think you all know the agenda, that's why you're here, so I'm not going to take another 2 or 3 minutes to run you through that, but it's just to say that we're going to be starting with the present day and moving towards the future as we go through the afternoon. But before we get into the content, it's time to hear a few words from Henna Virkkunen, the Executive Vice President at the European Commission responsible for technological sovereignty, security, and democracy, about what she sees as the intrinsic value of Destination Earth moving forward. So if we can please play the tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to the User Exchange Forum, an event that celebrates one of the major ambitious and promising scientific and technological endeavors supported by the European Commission, the Destination Earth project. This event brings together a remarkable community of scientists, public authorities, industry leaders, startups, all pursuing a common ambition to harness digital technologies and Earth system science to better understand and tackle one of the greatest challenges our society is facing: climate change. Climate change is already affecting our planet, reshaping risks, economies, and daily life. We need a step change in how we understand and anticipate what is coming. And this is where Destination Earth comes in, a flagship EU initiative developing a highly accurate digital twin of the Earth to simulate climate dynamics, extreme weather events, and adaptation strategies. The science behind Destination Earth is incredibly advanced, but its real innovation lies in what it delivers, putting science-based foresight and decision-making tools at the fingertips of society. Consider the 2024 floods that devastated Europe. With Destination Earth, we can replay those events under future climate conditions. We can simulate how the affected areas would change and where the impacts intensify. This allows us to explore how our cities and infrastructures must adapt by 2030, 2040, and beyond. Behind those groundbreaking capabilities lies a critical enabler, Europe's high-performance computing centers, which provide the machinery that make the digital twins possible. And our AI factories are the next generation infrastructure that will vastly expand their potential, turning Destination Earth's vast datasets into actionable insights. By combining Destination Earth with AI factories, we create a powerful synergy, where science, computing, and real-world applications meet to drive industrial transformation and solve societal challenges. And this is just the beginning. As we scale these AI factories into gigafactories, Europe's capacity to power initiatives like Destination Earth will grow exponentially, securing our leadership in applied AI. With Destination Earth, we are bringing together top-tier scientific research, strong AI tools, and robust digital infrastructure to create a reliable European-controlled AI system to support policy decisions and digital sovereignty. Dear participants, with Destination Earth, we have something quite unique: world-class science, cutting-edge infrastructure, and growing ecosystem. In the years ahead, Europe must continue investing in trustworthy digital infrastructure, sovereign data capabilities, and science-based innovation. Because resilience, competitiveness, and sustainability, they go hand in hand. With these words, I wish you a very great conference today.
So, there we go. I think it's fair to say you have a big fan in the Berlaymont, which in the broader context of European policy is a significant net positive. So many thanks to the Executive Vice President for those opening words. We're going to use the first session to basically take stock of where we are and some high-level perspectives on the expectations for Destination Earth and reflections on the broader value that it can deliver, not just for European policymakers, but for society more broadly. And so first, we're going to hear from, dare I say, the new godfather of Destination Earth, inside DG Connect. Please join me in welcoming Kilian Gross, the Director for Enabling and Emerging Technologies, to the stage for the first speech on behalf of the Commission. Kilian, welcome.
Welcome, good afternoon. I'm not sure whether I'm the godfather, but it's a very appealing title, obviously. I'm very happy to be here with you, and I find it quite impressive to see this crowd here in the room and all the more than, I think, 500 people which are online, which shows already what you have achieved in Destination Earth and how important this is for the community and for all of us. But I don't want to go into more detail before thanking those who have organized this, in particular the ECMWF and of course the Royal Meteorological Institute of Belgium. Thanks a lot for bringing us all here together in this wonderful space here in Tour and Taxi, one of the nicest, I think, venues you can find in Brussels, and allow us for 2 days to discuss these important matters. The user forum, please, feel free. The user forum is really important because you have an active role. What we want to achieve in these 2 days is not just the usual conference that we present things and we exchange a little bit. We want to hear from you, what are the problems, what does work, what does not work. So we really are looking forward to exchanging. My team will be with you the full 2 days. We will discuss, we will listen to you, and we will hopefully take a lot of things home, and we will bring this really important project further, a good step further. And this is timely, because you may know that in Brussels, if you follow the Brussels bubble, so to say, last week was a big week with a tech sovereignty package which we launched. And at first sight, it may not look completely connected to what you do here, but in the tech sovereignty package, what we did was basically we launched a Chips Act 2.0, and we launched a Cloud and AI Development Act and a roadmap for AI and energy. Why was this? This was because the AI revolution has changed the world completely. Chips Act 1 was becoming to get outdated because it was there since COVID. Chips Act 2 tries to take into account what we see, what happens to AI, that AI is everywhere, and therefore we need to produce in Europe the chips for AI. That's what Chips Act 2 should inter alia ensure, but we need as well to have the data centers because we need powerful AI in Europe. This is not just a question of luxury or a question of competitiveness. This is for us a question of sovereignty. And that's why we call this the tech sovereignty package, because we need to have these capacities and capabilities here in Europe. This is not about protectionism, which you may have read somewhere in the media. This is about making sure that we in Europe have the means it takes to steer processes the way we do it, the European way, together with our partners. And we are, and Destination Earth is a good example, we are very happy to work together with partners wherever these wish this. And all this is, of course, interlinked with our policy on AI, because at the same time we are building now, we are preparing the call for the first gigafactories. And we know, we have the first 19 AI factories out there and the related antennas. And of course, this is interrelated with this chips production, because in the end, in the future, these gigafactories should purchase and procure these chips from factories built and set up in Europe. So we want to build this ecosystem. Why? Because we want to make Europe an AI continent. This is our declared policy, to make this a strong place for AI. And what our EVP, Ms. Virkkunen, said at the press conference, I think is very true. We may have been a bit late for the run on frontier AI models, but we want to be first on apply AI. So we want really where the application level now starts, where we bring AI into the real world, we want that Europe leads, and this trickles down into our industries, into our societies, and into all our daily lives. And here is, I think, where Destination Earth comes in. Because Destination Earth is one of the successful examples you find in the Apply AI strategy, where we can showcase that we can do Apply AI, that we can use AI for the societal good, for economic purposes, for competitiveness, but above all as well for our societies as a whole. If we now look back, because you asked we should first look back and then look forward, which makes a lot of sense. If you look back, we are in between two phases. We are close to closing phase 2, and we will soon, in a few weeks, start with phase 3. So in phase 2, we have seen, I think, quite some impressive results from Destination Earth. We have managed to show a capacity to simulate long-term climate impacts at resolutions for just a few kilometers. And here, this is what happens, that it turns climate science into something actionable, what you can really do, what you can use for decision makers with high precision, where you can use this EU sovereign climate data and build public trust through transparency and results. The other big thing we can do now, and which we have shown in phase 2, is the replay, so that we take extreme weather events from the past and we basically model and see what would happen now in changed climate conditions. And this gives us a very visual and a very practical way of understanding how our continent, our countries, our coasts, our islands would be affected if weather events which have taken place would take place today again with changing circumstances due to climate change. Last example, the cooperation between Destination Earth and the European Central Bank to model climate hazard impacts on agricultural productivity and food prices to support assessing related state finance vulnerabilities to inflation. I wanted to bring that example because it shows that Destination Earth is, on the one hand side, really has become a tool for policy making, for understanding climate, but it has become, and is increasingly as well, a tool to do business, to ensure risks and to understand what can happen due to changing conditions. So now, phase 3, what is coming? The next 2 years will really be crucial for us to operationalize these digital twins. We want to expand the platform's operational services and promote development of innovative impact sector products based on the digital twin outputs. And that's, I think, really what you should discuss now these 2 days. And here I want to highlight first that we want to build in phase 3 this frontier AI model based on the Earth system as a cornerstone of the Apply AI strategy. And this is something really big. I mean, if you see the frontier models which we see now in the US, what it means to develop a frontier model and to have such a powerful model for the Earth system would really be a game changer. And then we want, of course, to transform further this groundbreaking innovation which Destination Earth is based upon into everyday impact. So solidifying Europe's leadership in digital resilience and climate intelligence. So we want to speed up processes, cut energy demands by optimizing computation, and enable rapid interactive what-if scenarios. And these are not just analyses, these should be evidence-based insight that decision makers need in order to take well-informed decisions. So, to conclude, let me first repeat, it's really now the time that we can use this tool, Destination Earth, to the best of our knowledge, and it's really your work which will enrich us, so we are really interested in your views. So please be active, use these 2 days, and report on what can be done, what are your ideas, what are your problems. So let's take action, share ideas, let's discuss challenges and explore new partnerships. And in this respect, I wish you all and us a really good meeting where we take home new insights and we come with fresh energy for this important project. Thanks a lot.
Killian, thank you very much for helping us to set the scene there. And again, it's many congratulations to you and the colleagues at Connect, plus the partners, for having stuck with this strategy. I think when we were in Kajaani 2 years ago, there was also this sense of surprise that Destination Earth had developed so quickly, right? To get from that initial steps to the launch phase, but with a huge amount of very intricate and detailed planning, right? And now it moves forward at great speed, and your contributions over the course of the next 2 days will help to chart the direction of travel for the next couple of years. So, that was the view from DG Connect. Now I'm very pleased to invite Mark van Holsbeek, who's the Director of Coordination at BELSPO, the Belgian Science Policy Officer, and who has very kindly agreed to step in for the chair of the board at the last minute. But please, Mark, the floor is yours. Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much, Simon. Dear Executive Vice President, dear Directors General and Directors, dear participants, welcome to you all. It's of course with pleasure that on behalf of Arnaud Vajda, Chairman of the Board of Directors at BELSPO, the Belgian Science Policy Office, that I welcome you all here today. Mr. Vajda apologizes indeed for being unable to join us due to unavoidable and unforeseeable circumstances. Now, I must admit something at the start. We at BELSPO, we rather tend to be future-minded and future-looking, but this time let me think with you about a bit of the past and bring you back to the summer of 2021. It was really a dark moment for our country. It was the day that Belgium, but also Germany, experienced flooding of a severity we had never seen before, part of a wider and deeply worrying trend across Europe. What unfolded was not only a natural disaster, but above all, a human tragedy. 39 lives were lost only in our country. It was a turning point. Recovery took years, and for many communities, believe me, the impact is still felt every single day. So, why do I bring this up today? Because painful as it is to say, this was not an isolated event, but part of a wider reality we are now facing across Europe. Extreme rainfall events are becoming more likely and more intense, increasing the risk of severe flooding with loss of lives and very significant damages. Now, as some of you know, and I genuinely hope most of you know, the Belgian Science Policy Office, BELSPO, brings together 10 federal scientific institutes. Each of them plays a vital role, but during that crisis, one stood at the very front line, the Royal Meteorological Institute, because they issued a red alert. Grounded in the best available science and technology, including forecasts from the ECMWF and many other models. Of course, as you know even better than I do, science cannot prevent a natural disaster, but it can turn surprise into preparedness. Chaos can become coordination. And that way, science can even save lives. Here's the inconvenient truth. Yes, this is a deliberate reference to Al Gore's documentary. We all know that such events are no longer exceptional. Extreme rainfall and flooding will become increasingly likely in the future. Even with the best science, with the most correct warnings, such events will become more frequent and more intense. And let's be honest, no country, including Belgium, can face such challenge alone. Extreme weather does not stop at national borders. Rivers, storm systems, and climate risk, they all connect us, and so must be our response. That's precisely where Europe comes in. And this is not a political statement. At BELSPO, we strongly believe it is just a necessity. Belgian weather and climate science are indeed firmly anchored in European collaboration. Belgian scientists engage in shared projects, develop joint infrastructures, and pursue a common ambition to push the boundaries of what is possible all together. The Belgian Science Policy Office actively contributes to this effort as a member of the LUMI consortium, supporting Europe's shared Euro-HPC capabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely why sustained European investment matters. It's why strengthening European autonomy and sovereignty, as we just said, is essential. Let us continue to invest in advanced models, in scientific excellence, and in innovative systems. With ECMWF and its partners, we have the collective strength to meet these challenges and shape the future all together. Which brings us to Destination Earth, or Destiny. Destiny is not just another project, but a new, innovative way to approach climate research, climate adaptation, and preparedness to extreme weather. And this is not a distant ambition. Destiny is already working on 2 digital twins, as you well know, one focused on weather-induced extremes and one on climate change adaptation. Together, they show exactly why this initiative matters. Because in a world where uncertainty is growing, we need better ways to understand risk, anticipate impacts, and support decisions. Yes, Destiny is very ambitious, but the scale of the challenge demands ambition. It's a prime example of European cooperation at its strongest. The question is no longer whether we need better models. The question is how quickly we can improve them, use them, and translate them into action. And that's why gatherings like this one truly matters. I invite you to look around. What you see is more than a collection of experts and institutions. You see a living network of people working together to strengthen Europe's capacity to understand and respond to climate risks. In the end, it's not technology or funding alone that will make the difference. It's collaboration. Belgium is proud to be part of this collective effort and proud to work closely with the European Commission, the ICMWF, the European Space Agency, EUMETSAT, and all our partners, whether present here today or not. Let me conclude with one simple thought. In 2021, we experienced what happens when extreme weather tests the limits of our preparedness. In the years ahead, we will face even greater challenges. The difference will not be in what we face, but in how well prepared we are when it will arrive. Let us build this preparedness together through sustained investment, deeper cooperation, and well-placed trust in science. Not only for ourselves, but for the millions of Europeans who, often without even realizing it, rely every day on our models, our data, and our expertise. So let us be ambitious in our goals, courageous in our research, and dynamic in our actions. With that spirit, I wish you all a very productive, stimulating, and truly inspiring time here in Brussels. Thank you very much.
Mark, thank you for those inspiring words, not just to underline the importance of the solidarity of the efforts behind the development of Destination Earth and wider climate preparedness, but also the value to so many millions of people in Europe if this model and its services and its platform can be used in a smart way moving forward. Speaking of which, our third speaker in the opening session, Florian Pappenberger, Director General of ECMWF, one of the driving forces and key partners behind Destiny, known to pretty much all of you, I would like to think. But Florian, please take the stage, share with us your perspectives on what comes next and why it matters. Thank you, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I was slightly worrying you introduced Killian as the godfather. I was wondering what you're going to use for me, but I got off lightly, I think. Dear Director Killian Gross, Mark van Holsberg, distinguished representatives of the European Commission, Grazina, Babis, dear colleagues from ESA, EUMETSAT, and the Royal Meteorological Institute, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a real pleasure to be back. I was here last week, in Brussels, in the heart of Europe, because this project is really what Europe has to be. The user exchange now comes at a really important moment, and it was sort of expressed already in my previous speeches. It's moving now really on from building a system to really using it. The main components are in place. The question is no longer what Destination Earth can actually technologically do. The question is really how does it help now users to make better decisions. When we were here 2 years ago in Kajani and had the opening, that was the vision, that was the plan, that's what we wanted to achieve. We wanted to make this a useful tool. And thank you very much, Mark, for actually reminding us why it is useful here. We're here to protect life and livelihoods, to improve the prosperity of our continent. And this is why this meeting matters. It's not a showcase. Even if you had now 3 speeches here showcasing you how great Destination Earth is, it is a working meeting. It's a test where the system we've built so far is actually something which is useful, understandable, and actually relevant. Useful, understandable, and relevant. Quite difficult to achieve. For people to actually make decisions. The recent months have seen real progress, and Killian already highlighted some of them very, very nicely. We saw the clear climate digital twin climate projections released, and there were fantastic plots on the internet to see of them. We have regular operations of an extreme digital twin several times a week. Several times a week we're producing forecasts. And we have a growing number of use cases across the climate-sensitive sectors. This shift is what we wanted to see. It's not really something which we didn't want. That's exactly what we want. We want a system that proves what is technologically possible to a system that helps to answer questions. And I know that I'm repeating myself here, but we're not building a scientific system. We're not building something which is some technology which nobody uses. We want to have something which really makes a difference. And I think it shows why Europe's investment into high-performance computing really matters. It shows why the investment into LUMI and all the other Euro HPC factories matter. They are not just abstract investments, infrastructure investments. They're not just blinking boxes. They're actually what make it possible to build digital twins of the Earth, to build them at scale at the society it actually requires. And I'm going to come back to a topic which both of you had. In a world where the United States, China, and many other major technology companies investing heavily into AI and strategic computing, Destination Earth is part of technology sovereignty. And you heard that really eloquently expressed by both of my previous speakers. But I'm going to give it a slight twist, because sovereignty only matters if it leads to usage. Sovereignty on its own is pointless. That is why the next phase must focus on uptake. That's why phase 3 is so important, operational value, and ensuring that Destination Earth has the computing capacity it actually needs. A key priority has been to Destination Earth to answer European policy needs. We already had the excellent example of the European Central Bank. We have the European Environment Agency in support of the next European climate risk assessments. We have climate projections informing macroeconomics. And last but not least, we have our European infrastructure, our European national hydrometeorological services, building these capabilities and using them in yearly day-to-day life. We talked about the flooding in Germany and Germany and Belgium. We had loads of other events. Just recently, we had flooding in Valencia. We have huge droughts. We have heat waves, the silent killer. All of that will become better through better forecast capabilities. We can't prevent disasters, as my previous speaker said, but at least we can warn and we can reduce the impact. And I think this is where the broader political context really makes it more important. The European Commission and its national governments, and there's no secret, are currently reviewing priorities and adapting their approaches. We all know the next MFF is around the corner, and we all know we heavily discuss what's in there. And now there has to be an emphasis on keeping our citizens safe, making our societies resilient, and strengthening Europe's technology and information sovereignty. To ensure that we have an independent access to trusted, science-based decision support. I want trusted, science-based decision support, particularly when other parts of the world are going in different directions. So if Destination Earth wouldn't already exist, we would have to create it today. We would have to invent it. I'm speaking here as part of the three implementing partners, and I really thank my colleagues from ESA and EUMETSAT who are also here in the room. We're really looking forward to the next phase. We are bringing decades between us of experience in Earth system modeling, supercomputer and operational predictions. Destination Earth is not more of the same. It's actually a completely new information simulation system, and we heard the term frontier AI. Europe can compete. Europe is producing the best forecasts in the world against any other odds. We are there competitive. We have technology, we have the science, we have the brains, we have everything, we can do this. And this will be increasingly shaped by AI, and this is why the partnership matters so much, and I do want to thank DG Connect for its leadership, particularly Katsina and Barbis, not only in investing in EuroHPC and AI factories, but also for setting the vision. We had to have a vision, and this is a grand vision where we're going to. And I'm proud to be one of the implementing partners, but I'm also proud of the 120 and more partner institutions, from commercial entities to public institutions, who really make this project work, to all of you who are in this room. Before I finish, I do want to thank the organizing team at ECMWF, and I'm going to do this particularly now in the beginning, particularly Olga Lögel, Laila Gandaras, and Sophia Sheridan, who I don't know where they actually are, somewhere in the room, I hope. They're hiding. As well as the many other colleagues and partners. Without them, we couldn't do it, and I really appreciate their work. The program over these 2 days shows how far Destination Earth has come, but the most important part of this user exchange is not the technology itself. It is you, the users. I already made this clear. It's for you to show what you can do and we can do with this. We need your questions. We need your criticisms. We need your use cases. And above all, we need your ambition. Only through dialogue can we make Destination Earth generally even more useful and to ensure it delivers. And with that, I really wish you an extremely lively and productive user exchange. And I thank you for inviting me in this beautiful place. Thank you.
Thank you, Florian. Well, that's the perfect call to action for the rest of the afternoon and indeed tomorrow. And thank you also to Kilian and Mark and yourself for keeping to time. Doing very well so far. Let's see how we sustain that through the afternoon. So we're going to move on to our second session now, and the rationale and the objectives for this are pretty straightforward. It's for the partners in Destination Earth to give us a summary of the journey so far, a concise synopsis of progress and highlights since you were last together in Vienna. So we're going to devote the first part of this panel to a reflection on some of the main milestones and achievements that have been secured over the last few months. And then for the second part of the discussion, we're going to look ahead to phase 3 and what the partners see as some of the most exciting opportunities and ambitions, to echo our opening speakers, the ambitions of phase 3 and how this will move the Destiny initiative forward. So to support these discussions, please join me in welcoming to the stage Catherine Hintzer, who is the head of the Ecosystem Development Section at European Space Agency, Babis Tsitlakidis, the head of the Destination Earth sector at DG Connect. Then we have Irina Sandu, the director of Destination Earth ECMWF, and Lothar Wolf, program manager for Destination Earth at EUMETSAT. Would you care to join me on the stage? Choose whichever chair you would like. And a round of applause to welcome them, please. So we can, just take the seats here. Okay, so we'll keep our fingers crossed that the technology works with the microphones, but let's get things started again with DG Connect. So Babis, Kilian has already given the big picture about how important Destination Earth is in the wider context of AI strategy, applied AI, Europe as an AI continent. What would you highlight as the main developments and successes from the last few months, let's say?
Okay, it works. So first of all, good afternoon also from my side. It's happy to be with here with you today, as always, in the annual big event of Destination Earth, our user exchange. So when it comes to this exciting journey, because it is about an exciting journey, being in this journey from the very beginning, years ago, I think, as it was already expressed by both Kilian and Florian, we see the vision of Destination Earth taking really shape now. We started with the whole idea, which is simple but still yet powerful, that Europe's climate ambitions must be supported by Europe's leadership and excellence in science, our digital leadership also, and our capacity to innovate. And this is where we are now. And indeed, the progress has been remarkable. 2 years ago, we inaugurated Destination Earth, finishing the first phase of it in Kajaani, celebrating in Kajaani, Finland, where all the major components, so the lake, the platform, the digital twin engine, they went operational, our first 2 twins, they went live, and now users of Destination Earth, decision makers, public sector authorities, scientists, the private sector, they can really use ultra-high resolution climate change simulations. And these are tailored with these so-called what-if scenarios that we know very well. So for the first time, we have these capabilities in Europe to be used from a broad audience. And this is not something trivial. We paid a lot of effort on that, and this is where we are now. But more than that, we see that we are progressing in areas where it has to do, I would say, a lot with Europe's capacity to mobilize and connect strategic assets. So Destination Earth, again, you heard us many times saying that we are not building it in a vacuum. With Destination Earth, we are using high-performance computing power from our Euro-HPC joint undertaking. We are actually using data from flagships on Earth observation like Copernicus. And of course, we are mobilizing the expertise and skills from a number of institutions across Europe. And this is a true European effort. And this is where we are also now, so moving together with this ecosystem. And we managed to create things that are really remarkable. Already Kilian referred to the so-called storylines, how we can replay a recent extreme event in either the past or into the future. And we are now in a position to really simulate 120 simulate days in one real day. So 120 simulation days in one day. And we will go beyond that. So this is the power that Destination Earth brings also, but it's also, allow me to say Destination Earth, or with Destination Earth, we are currently running the future at scale and on a European sovereign infrastructure. And this is enormous. And we are still progressing, still creating new connections. You heard also that Destination Earth is part of this broader ecosystem that has to do with how we envisage and apply AI across the continent. And yes, this is true. Destination Earth is indeed linked to the forthcoming AI factories, these new ecosystems that are computational ecosystems that are there in order to help us train the new generation of foundation models. And their Destination Earth will provide data that is rich, data that is quite complex, data that can support decision and policy making. And perhaps whenever we talk about that, about this connection between AI, the factories, and Destination Earth, we are missing one important point. That Destination Earth is not only consuming AI infrastructure, at the same time is feeding into it and is helping improving it. So these together, these work strands are not isolated. They are coming together and they are part of one coherent single ecosystem. And with Destination Earth, yes, of course, we will move forward. As part of the Apply AI strategy, we will create this AI frontier model of the Earth system, and we have new tools. We have AI-ready data sets that can be used not only from the factories, but in general. And yes, we are now part, and this is another achievement, we are part of this, let's say, rich ecosystem also of European initiatives that are at scale, like the forthcoming European Climate Risk Assessment, the UCRA2, the new regulation on climate risks and integrated resilience framework, the EU Mission for Climate Change Adaptation. Destination Earth is a key action under the EU Water Resilience Strategy and a major component of the Green Deal data space. So we are moving really fast and we are really going forward. And of course, we are working closely with our member states at national, regional, local level, tailoring solutions for them, preparing new tools for them. And there we are now, and I will close with that. Just before we kick off phase 3, next week officially we start phase 3 of Destination Earth. And this is a clear signal of institutional confidence on the trajectory of Destination Earth. So it's really exciting. We transition now to phase 3, and I think the journey continues.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Babis. Okay, now we're going to turn the floor to Irina. Irina, I think you maybe have some slides that you'd like to support your opening remarks. But there we go. We have institutional confidence and commitment from the Commission. On the beneficiary end, what's the big news for ECMWF? What are you most proud of from the last few months?
So I think over the last few months and year, we have made really made substantial progress. Thanks to this cooperation that you heard about quite a few times before, there are more than 100 partner organizations. The number is growing by the day, underpinning what we are doing in Destination Earth, which is really setting up new capabilities, new Earth system digital twins and AI models. And Destination Earth is already delivering concrete capabilities that support preparedness and resilience to extreme events and climate change. So that's what I'm the most proud of. And what we have been focusing over the last year is really operationalizing this digital twin technology that is pioneered in Europe and in Destination Earth. We have really set up these complex digital twin simulation frameworks, which are building on the next generation physics-based model systems, on complex software tooling and services, and really on Europe's supercomputing capabilities and EuroHPC. We have these simulation frameworks now allow to explore possible future evolutions and assess what-if scenarios, but they are also providing the data that feeds into a new generation of AI models, and that's the other major focus over the last months, building these components of the AI Earth system model that you already heard Kilian mentioned before. And really one of the major milestones in Destination Earth over the last months was the release of a new generation of climate digital twin simulations. And you'll hear about it more later. But there are 3 reasons for why this is a major milestone. First, because this is for the first time that mimicking what we've been doing for decades in numerical weather prediction, we have produced climate simulations, climate projections with operational workflows. This is really important for trust and uptakes and scientific-based evidence. Second, because these simulations, as you saw in this movie, they really provide detail from global to local level where the impacts of extreme events and climate change are observed and felt. But also because at the same time, this digital twin is translating this climate information into tailored information for impact sectors like wind energy. And you see here in this example, an example with one of the applications embedded in the Climate Digital Twin Framework, which translates the wind fields into capacity factors for a number of turbines, really allowing to produce information that allows ultimately decision making for the wind energy sector, and there is information for other sectors, and you'll hear about it more later. There are also substantial advances for the extremes digital twin, which is also a novel simulation framework which complements the capabilities we already have in Europe. This is also up and running. The global component is running daily on Europe's supercomputers, on LUMI in particular. And there were many, many runs, hundreds of runs. You can see all these little dots in the left plot for a variety of extreme events that were run by at 500 to 700 meters, providing this real zoom where extreme events happen, their impacts are felt. What is also important that in this case as well, the system is flexible, is modular. We can tailor the outputs to the type of event, and it includes impact sector information. Then, very rapidly as well, over the last year and a half, building on the underpinning infrastructure that ECMWF and the Met services across Europe have built, which is called Anemoy. You may have heard about it. It's a software infrastructure which allows to create AI-ready data sets, train AI models, and operationalize them. And there are several operational AI models already working in Europe at ECMWF, the Deutsche Wetterdienst, soon Med Norway, and other Met services. So building on this expertise, we quickly deployed these technologies on EuroHPC, and we leveraged the EuroHPC systems to go even further, developing components in Destination Earth for land, ocean, sea ice, waves, to really create an AI Earth system model. So we've done all that. What's next? For me, there are a few important novelties. Now we are going to sustain production and a more sustained operation of these digital twin frameworks to run both regular but also what-if simulations, and really to deliver tailored extreme climate and impact sector information and complement what we already have in Europe. We are also transforming the digital twin data in AI-ready data sets to train and build this new generation of AI models. But importantly, and this is really something new, we are linking the climate and extremes digital twins to go towards an Earth system digital twin, like the original vision. And I'll give you one example why we want to do that, and it was mentioned a little bit before. Because we want to know how extreme events, we want to know only how the climate changes, but also how extreme events. You'll hear later, and Babis already mentioned, we are doing global storyline simulations where we replay extreme events with the global models in the past climate, present day, and future warmer world. But now in phase 3, we'll relate these climate simulations with zooms with the extremes DT where these events happen at the 500-meter resolution, and like in this example of the floods in Central Europe in 2024. allowing to contextualize a really local level extreme event impacts. So I find all this very exciting, and I think I'm really looking forward to see how Destination Earth will be uptaken and used and combined with existing capabilities in phase 3, building on this collaboration.
Very good. Thank you, Irina. Okay, Lothar, we're turning to you next. So I hope Irina hasn't stolen all of your thunder by announcing the big developments, but what's been really the most impressive aspects for you and your colleagues at EUMETSAT?
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Yes, when we started the journey, we had the vision that we want to contribute to Destination Earth and fully integrated modern data management layer. And for that, we had in mind to actually build it on 3 main pillars. So the first pillar was all about a provision of an operational infrastructure that combines storage and compute, but that is based on data federation principles. So data federation is a key in working together, and you heard it from various speakers already. The idea is to work together. So federation allows individual entities to contribute with their achievements into the overall data context. The second pillar that we had envisaged was about reducing the complexity for the user of the data access. And complexity of data access is very often driven by the need for knowing where data is, how data is structured, what are the right access methodologies for data, what are services I can use, and so forth. And that is what we call harmonization of data access. So as a fundamental second pillar, really directly enabling a better uptake of what Destination Earth will deliver. And the third pillar we had envisaged was about providing additional tooling and services on top of that in order to finally establish this integrated data platform. That means users being able to capitalize from the distributed nature of the data lake, capitalize from the services, capitalize from the harmonization of data access via a variety of tools, and all in all, later on being this represented in what we call a data portfolio. So the data portfolio essentially represents the formal way of the data offering Destination Earth has to do. Now, integration is a very important part, and the integration aspects here are into 2 areas. The one area vis-a-vis the digital twins, and here eSIMWF has this interface layer called the digital twin engine, which is directly embedded and interfaced together with the data lake, as well as then the services provided by the core service platform by ESA. And what I'm really proud of also personally is, and for our agency, is that we actually achieved to do this, and we achieved a 24/7 operational layer by now. So where will this go now? Where do we go from here? And the number one priority from our perspective, we continue operations. Continued operations is so fundamental for Irina said it already, you know, the trust building and so forth. Users need to be relying on that the services remain available. Institutional user uptake. This is what is the key success for Destination Earth. We have had examples already from previous speakers on how the uptake is now really manifested, and of course we're going to support that. And last not least, and for me that's actually one of the most important parts here, is we want to learn. We want to learn from what we've done. We want to learn from what has changed. We want to learn from the experience. And based on that, we will prepare for the future, because that will allow us to enhance our preparedness. And there are many, many aspects. Also, Florian mentioned there's a new MFF, there are new initiatives, etc. So that is where we think we're going to go.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Lothar. So, Catherine, you've been waiting very patiently, but please give us some of the highlights from the ESA perspective.
Thank you. Good afternoon, dear participants. So the Destiny platform is the single entry point for users to Destiny. Already from the homepage, users get a glimpse of the capabilities when visualizing the global monthly temperature anomaly for 110 years, combining the Destiny Climate Digital Twin data with ERA 5. In this moment, 48 services are operational, covering 8 thematic areas. Let me show one concrete example from the service registry Calif, where we access the service directly from the platform, request information for the location of this user exchange, and launch an analysis. The results are local quality of life views for the location, and here we combine several dimensions, including health, transport, water, green spaces, weather, and hazards, turning climate data into simple local indicators. Since its launch, the platform attracted many users. They have access to a growing number of tutorials and webinars, but also a training hub where they can contribute training courses to the user community. And here they have the choice to have AI assistance for the course creation. At our last user exchange, we received the feedback that it was difficult to find the digital twin. We have therefore created this dedicated page that you can access from the Destiny homepage, and that guides through all digital twin information you may be interested in, like the simulations and the evaluations, how to access the digital twin outputs, and examples for analysis and visualizing the data. You can also view the storyline simulations and perform simple analysis, as you can see here on the screen for the heat wave in France in 2019, where you can visualize for the past and future climate the same event. The platform offers the platform offers an open services ecosystem and supports service providers that want to onboard their services. Also, the ESA Digital Twin Earth program contributes to this ecosystem. One example is the Destiny Streamer, which uses video compression to make data access very performant and allows users to perform statistical analysis directly in the browser. For example, here for the climate digital twin, where the user can select the administrative region, the statistical metric, the range of years, and the months. The analysis is performed using the processing capacity of the user device, which makes it very sustainable, and the results can be easily downloaded. The ESA DTE program is also developing digital twin components that are leveraging Earth observation assets. The platform engages with users to adopt the services to their needs. We have the public roadmap informing them about all evolution activities and inviting to contribute ideas. A dedicated stakeholder engagement team supports the adoption of Destiny. The co-design methodology tailored to Destiny, together with the co-design assistant, support the development of services that effectively address user needs. Let me close with a view of where the platform is going. Today, users can already discover services, access digital twin outputs, and use advanced applications. But the next step is to make this interaction much more natural. This video shows a possible future user experience. Instead of starting from complex interfaces, users can start from a question. They can ask in natural language, connect to different data and services, analyze the results, and turn them into a story that can be shared with others. We think that this is very important for policy and decision support. Many users need understandable insights, clear visualizations, and a way to explain results to colleagues, stakeholders, and citizens. Services such as DEA show this direction. DEA supports no-code storytelling and AI-assisted interaction. So users can create data stories from Earth observation, climate, and statistical information. In phase 3, this approach should become more powerful. The platform will continue to integrate AI-enabled services, customized visualizations, and user story sharing. The objective is not to replace scientific expertise, but to lower the barrier to use Destiny outputs.
Very good. Thank you, Catherine. So there we have the partners' overview of the main highlights from the last few months. But I think for the remainder of the session, we're going to look a little bit into the future. And as we've heard, Phase 3 is about to get going. So I'm going to ask a first question to all of you. Perhaps we start with you, Babis. What you see as some of the most exciting or high potential aspirations, ambitions, targets, objectives for Phase 3. And that can be either through the lens of DG Connect or the Commission, or from the user perspective. What's on the table that is really going to help this initiative move forward?
Okay, many thanks first of all, Simon, for the question. And having seen what is coming, I can already tell you that the future of Destination Earth is quite promising. So yes, Phase 3 will start next week. It will run for 2 years until June 2028 with a budget envelope of around 150 million euros. And there we will work on really moving faster from exploration and design to deployment. And what does that mean? It means that you will see more tools, more applications, more services coming into play. But most of all, you will see all of these very promising AI activities taking shape, which will also transform a bit the way we work with Destination Earth. But more than that, in Phase 3, you can expect really a lot of interaction with all of you, the users, because I think you are the driving force behind Destination Earth. So what we would like really to do now in Phase 3 is to engage a lot with key impact sectors and having at least a number of them by the end of Phase 3 working very closely with us so that we can really create concrete results that are feeding into the daily business in a number of sectors. But of course, we will also engage and we will strengthen the synergies with Copernicus, with the digital twin of the ocean, with our local digital twin. So you can expect also, again, this ecosystem that also taking shape during Phase 3. And when we go a bit beyond Phase 3, so to the really to the future of Destination Earth, we can already hint that the ambition will still be there. And again, it will be about something that is going to conclude, if you like, all the steps that we, by then, we will have taken during this multi-financial period and lead us to something that it will become a powerful model of the Earth system, but not something that is static, not something that runs on demand, not something that is really dependent on just data. We are aiming for something that it will be like a living, breathing, thriving model of the whole Earth. And that is something that we are now designing, and you can already have a glimpse, as I said before, into the future of Destination Earth. It's really ambitious, and this is what we are heading at. So I think, as I said, the future is quite promising, and we'll have the time to discuss during these 2 days with the audience about that.
Very good. Thank you, Babis. Now, Irina, I presume you're going to support that sense of brightness and a positive future. What are you most looking forward to, or what are the standout objectives for the next few months in Phase 3?
What I'm really looking forward is to see how Destination Earth is uptaken more and more in Europe, but from public institutions to SMEs and industry, and to see how this can really support better preparedness and resilience through this combination of capabilities that we have in Europe and our collective knowledge and collaborative community. Then what I find exciting in terms of developments is really linking these climate and extremes to augment the toolbox of Destination Earth and provide national authorities like Met Services, but also companies, the capability to look in the future and see how can we adapt for a world where extreme events will change and their impact will change as well. So this is something I'm looking forward. And the third thing is really the fact that digital twins are not only providing high-resolution information, which is what people are always talking about, but that high-resolution information, it's also, and high quality information, it's also the prime material for a new generation of AI factories. And this combination of Europe's investments in HPC, in AI factories, and this data, and I'm going to steal Grazina's line now, which is a line we stole from Christian Canton, if you remember, a few months ago, the associate director from BSc. This can really spark magic. I think it can, this combination of data plus the AI factories can really foster, and specialized software infrastructure like Anemoy can really spark the development of a new generation of applications and in industrial competitiveness through the AI factories. And this is something I'm personally really looking forward to.
Super. And goodness knows we need it. Now, Lothar, what are you looking forward to most
thank you.
in phase 3?
It's quite challenging to add something to this, but yeah, okay. So coming from the space environment, I take a stratospheric view, and if I'm hovering there and I look at this, what has been achieved and where the developments are going, what do I see? Okay, I see a very strong European infrastructure being built. I see unique European-made data sets being developed. I see strengthening of decision-making by the tools being applied and so forth. And if I look at this, I think we are going in a way that in this togetherness of all the various components and in the working together of the components and how they're interfacing, we're actually going to really strengthen our capabilities. And that's what I'm personally very excited about as being a European, a native European. I think we can be proud of this. So where will this go? I think I would be excited to see developing more synergies, to apply the lessons learned out of the various activities in an open manner. I think also here we are particularly strong in this, not only in our consortium here locally in Destination Earth, but also in a wider context, and then advance us in this direction. I think I will not repeat anything what you said, Babis or Irina, on the developments of AI, etc.
And we're going to hear plenty more about that over the course of the next day and a half. But now, Catherine, let's get a couple of thoughts from you, and then I have one more question for the panel, and then it'll be time for coffee.
Thank you. So adding to what was said before, we want to continue the good collaboration with our partners and the European Commission, and help everybody to achieve the ambitions that we have for phase 3. We want to enable users with the platform to use the capabilities that are made available by, for example, ECMWF with the AI models and so on. We want to make it easy and sustainable to run these capabilities from the platform, and allow users to customize their own services according to their needs. And here we really hope to work together, as it was said before by several speakers, to work together with the user community to understand what is needed and what we can do for easing the life of the users.
So let's stay with you, Catherine, and we'll put the final question on the table and then work back before we wrap. So, I mean, user uptake has been highlighted, I think, by all of you, and indeed our opening speakers. This idea of greater application, not just within scientific context, but also policy making, not just at EU level, but all the way down to local. Are these the key success factors that you think will define phase 3? Or are there other ones that you see as being critical to, we're arriving in 2028 saying, this has been another extraordinary leap forward? Are there any other conditions that you think need to be in place for us to get through phase 3 and say, what a success?
Well, for us, the KPI is always the number of users and active users especially. So we hope that this will take up speed during phase 3. And to do this, of course, we have to have the capabilities that users need, and as I can just repeat that we need to work together with the users and understand what is needed. So I look forward to more services onboarding and fulfilling the needs at all levels of the services, and not only for expert users, but also for non-expert users.
Okay, very good. Now, Babis, let's get your thoughts on this. And of course, I mean, you've mentioned also synergies with other services, other parts of the European institutional framework, but what would really define success for DG Connect by 2028?
I think, first of all, as you said, it's user uptake, because we are doing it for a purpose, and you can see the main success factor is here in this room, it's users. So, and with that we mean a growing, diverse user community. So from let's say, climate experts, from any expert community to all the way up on to policy and decision makers, because as we said before, we need to move beyond just providing data. We need to provide actionable intelligence for policy and decision makers. So a key success factor would be to see Destination Earth really incorporated in the processes of a number of institutions that they really demand this kind of systems. They really need them in order to enhance their support and decision making, to enhance their decision making. So, because again, yes, science and excellence in science is really powerful, but if it stops at the door of policy, it doesn't create impact. So to have impact, we need to woven in the fabric of policy making and decision making Destination Earth. And then I would complement that with a factor that is both a success factor, but also the means to get there, which is what we mentioned about the ecosystem with the AI factories, the gigafactories. Because, as we said, we provide, of course, data sets, we provide assets to the factories, but at the same time, the factories will act as multipliers for Destiny's outreach and impact. So we need to make that really happen, and that will, of course, push also the uptake and outreach of Destination Earth further.
Fantastic, thank you. Lothar, let's hear from you next.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, one of the key success factors is that we need to keep being able to take joint decisions. Joint decisions, they will be increasingly complicated because of the situation we are, geopolitical, but also inside Europe and so forth. We have seen many initiatives that were mentioned, and the spirit is clearly here to have this like a multi-purpose, multi-mission, multi-initiative thinking model. Yeah. And yeah, a key success for here, I repeat, to maintain our ability to take these joint decisions. Now that will also help in the uptake, because then from a user perspective or from an institutional perspective, there is a very high level of reliance on these capabilities, yeah, that are being presented today. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Irina. Your thoughts?
So I think for me there are three factors. First, user uptake, but I want to comment it from a different angle. Destination Earth is where it is today to a large extent because it's building on the capabilities of the European meteorological infrastructure and the collaboration between the three entities implementing it with all the partners in Europe. So the uptake in return by these trusted institutions, these brokers of weather, climate, environmental information is absolutely essential. They are not only the developers, they are also the only ones who can act as a multiplier for Destination Earth. They have the user knowledge base, they have the knowledge and the expertise of taking decisions at local scale and of really translating the Destination Earth capabilities in that policy impact. And for me, this is key, and supporting that is key. The second is the strong connection, two-way connection with the AI factories and EuroHPC. Destination Earth leverages EuroHPC. Destination Earth cannot exist without EuroHPC resources, both for the climate simulations and for training the AI models. But in return, Destination Earth is one of the best demonstrations, from my point of view, of translating the supercomputing investments in societal value And it strengthens, through our decades of expertise in operating these complex systems and in HPC, it strengthens in return the Euro HPC systems and help them mature. And third, Destination Earth digital twins and this whole ecosystem with the data lake, the platform, they are not static elements. They must evolve. If we want to stay at the frontier and if we want to stay at the top, we have to ingest the latest science, the latest technology. We continuously need to evolve and adapt these technologies to make sure we stay at the top. We are on a great course, and we need to, I think we can really stay there by pooling resources over Europe and advancing these capabilities.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much for those comments. Now we have just over 4 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you a last surprise question and invite a quick answer, because for all that we've heard around technological sovereignty and the need for Europe to be more autonomous and more resilient, Europe is also a paragon of openness in science and international cooperation. And so the question to you, for 1 minute each, is do you foresee greater scope for more international cooperation with Destination Earth during phase 3? To what degree can it strengthen our work, or your organization's works, with like-minded partners, as we like to say? Who would like to go first? Babis, would you like to try this first?
Yes, that's also an interesting question, and we are already expanding, let's say, beyond Europe by building collaboration initiatives with, for example, countries in the Caribbean. We have talks also in other areas, and so the beyond, let's say, Europe partnership is a key element also for Destination Earth. We are building also now a trusted relationship with Canada, so that we can also see what we can concretely do together. So the pieces of the puzzle are already there. And it is not something that I would see so much in the periphery of Destination Earth, but as things evolve, it may also become something that's quite crucial for, let's say, a future expansion of Destination Earth, also serving its actual mission to become a world's model, serving the planet as a whole, not just one continent.
Truly an exemplar. Thank you, Babis. Catherine, would you like to give your thoughts before we close?
Yes, so of course we work together with DG Connect for all the international agreements, but then the platform itself is open to service providers from all over the world. There's already, for example, a service that was developed in Africa by a small team from Africa for farmers. So it is already open to the outside from Europe. And we hope to continue with this. On the other hand, then we have our ESA Digital Twin Earth program, which has also member states that are not part of the European Union. And we collaborate, of course, with our member states in this program. And this is then also contributing to Destiny.
Okay, so excellent building blocks on which to expand in the future. Lothar, penultimate word, and we'll close with Irina.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Katrin, for mentioning Africa. I also wanted to give an example in Africa. There is the Space for Early Warning initiative of Africa, where both ESMWF and HumanSat are participating, and they are also utilizing Destination Earth capabilities. So we are already moving into this, and then from an agency perspective, we are embedded in the coordination group for meteorological satellite operators. So these are all the strategic partners in the US and across the globe. And we are talking about the benefits of Destination Earth in these contexts as well, and there's a very, very strong appetite and on this, recognizing the leadership of this globally. Yeah.
Fantastic. Irina.
At ECMWF, we are very proudly supporting open data. All our data is open since last autumn. We have open software. We have an open source leading AI model. Anemoi, it's open source, so of course I can only advocate for having open source AI models in Destination Earth. That's the only way to stay at the top. Linux is the best example in Europe. That's why Linux is so used, because it is open source. The same applies to the climate data. We are doing tech for good in Destination Earth. We are doing groundbreaking capabilities, which can be used worldwide, in particular in countries like the Caribbean and small islands. We have studies on that as well. So of course, this would bring benefits to in the international community. I hope that we will have more and more open data and more open source in Destination as a key, because it is also a key for success.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody. Well, that brings our opening session to a close. So please join me in thanking Irina, Lothar, Babis, and Catherine for all of their contributions. And it's now time for coffee. We will be starting again at, I have to remember,